We're so glad you're here. I do this exercise every year. I'm Kathy Martilli from the Intimacy Dojo, and I'm here with Rick Wilkes from Thriving Now. And I first went through this procedure about 5 years ago in a $25,000 mastermind. And they spent 2 hours on it and had us write and made us like, if we're like, we don't have anything else to write, they're like, go deeper. And it helped me discover some things about myself that I hadn't really seen before. It helped me prioritize in a way that wasn't clear before because I was following a lot of the society dictates. It's like January 1st, you write down all the things you're going to force yourself to do, and January 3rd, you stop not doing them, start not doing them. Um, and going through this procedure, this question we're going to have you look at, it may feel challenging, but it gets to the heart of what matters to you, and it helps you align and prioritize in a way that it was a lot easier for me to follow through, and I got a lot more clarity on what I needed to do to move things ahead. So I try to do this every year because it really makes a difference. And I run it with my group at work as well, because when they know where they want to go, it's a lot easier to help them. And I love that we're here with this collective energy, these people that are really heart-centered, courageous people that want to make a difference in the world, because it's a lot easier to do it here and now in this space than it is to do it later by yourself. And I know one of my favorite procrastination techniques is to say, I will do it later. It will be easier later. And I can promise you it won't be. So if you feel some resistance, just realize, I hate the phrase people say, pain is just weakness leaving your body. I think that's bullshit. Our body speaks to us through pain. I do think moving through the awkward discomfort is courage entering our body. So when we kind of were willing to face, like, I don't really want to do this, but I think it's good for me, and it feels awkward and uncomfortable, and if we're just with that feeling and let ourselves move forward anyway, the courage enters our muscles and our being, and we start having more and more of it. So that's my current theory.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm Rick from thrivingnow.com, and I've been through this with Kathy a number of times before, and I had all these intentions on doing this work before the call, and And so thank you for being here, and we're going to take an hour to do this. I encourage people to take your phones, silent them, put them on airplane mode, take this time for yourself, and let's get started.
Yep.
All right.
All right, yeah, and realize the cats on Facebook will be there later. Just let yourself be a little uncomfortable if you're worried about them, because they're fine. So most people, we find all the time that people make like big wishes, like I'm going to lose 300 pounds, and I'm going to be a millionaire, and I'm going to have a great relationship with my family, and I'm going to get promoted. But they've never really prioritized them. They make a huge list. I'm really good at that. Creative people often do. But they've never really said, okay, these are the priorities. These are the ones I want to focus on first. And they've never broken them down in steps so they can actually move forward and see some progress on them.
And we also recognize that for a lot of people who've done goal settings, where it's a mental process, we want you to really feel into your body. So if you take a moment and allow yourself to settle and arrive just a little more deeply. You're here, and we're inviting you to take a breath. And as you do, feel gravity working. And to me, what that means is I allow gravity to do a little bit more of the work of holding me to the chair. So can be a sensation of sinking just a little bit more, relaxing in, feeling your toes on the floor, allowing yourself to have feet and legs and hips and heart, shoulders, hands. Maybe rub your hands together and let your head be a part of a core channel: head, heart, your gut, your pelvis, your spine supporting you. And if you, at any point during this process, start finding yourself just mostly in your head, just take a moment and let gravity work and remember this. Okay, this is a whole body experience. because we're asking what matters to your heart as a way of focusing on that whole channel of which the heart is the predominant and strongest vibration. So congratulations, you're taking time to look at your life. Many people let time slip through. We get busy, and taking an hour out of your time to come together in community and circle to do this, you rock.
And when I was putting these slides together, I put this little girl here because for me, some of my dreams have been around since I was very little. Like there was a purity in some of the things I wanted. Now, of course, I wanted, a pony and a house made of candy, um, but there are also some dreams of what I wanted to create. And I invite you to let that younger self, that younger you that was really courageous and was willing to think outside the box, be part of this too. So Rick's already guided you into connecting with your body. We talk about body yes, body no a lot. Like let that be part of this, but also let that wonderful wild child that was like, yes, I want to do these things. Let her speak. Let her speak through the times where you're like, oh, I can't really do anything important, or all the times you've kind of stumbled and fallen. Let her voice come through too.
Mm-hmm. Kathy, is there a possibility to move your mic a little closer?
I can. Is it too shadowy if I do that?
No, hopefully that adds some clarity. We had someone who wrote to me about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, you want to walk us through the get ready?
Sure. So we invited you to grab a pen and paper. If you don't have one, grab one. And you're going to break the page into 3 sections. We'll show you what it looks like in just a minute. But you're going to have at the top of the page, across the top of the page, you're going to have personal, professional, and spiritual. And you're going to have lines between them. And once we ask you to, you're going to just start writing. And if you can't think of anything to write, just write, I can't think of what to write. Just keep your pen moving. It helps the momentum. If you put the pen down and go, oh, I don't know what to write, it's less likely that your things are going to come to you versus if you get your fingers going in the writing. So can we show them what it looks like on the next page, Rick?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you're going to do. So I'll give you just a second or two to write that down. And then...
You ready?
Yep. So if Rick and I were sitting down with you 3 years from now, if we were having this discussion 3 years from today, and you were looking back over the last 3 years, what has to have happened in your life, personally, professionally, and spiritually, for you to feel happy with your progress? This question is from Dan Sullivan, and he gives people permission to run this. So imagine 3 years from now, you're sitting down with Rick and I, and you're like, oh my God, you can't believe what happened to me these last 3 years. It's so amazing. And you're going to write down what you would have had to accomplish in the last 3 years to be like, I feel so good about how I used those years. So go ahead and just start writing.
We're going to give some time here. And so relax into that. Whoop. And
And again, if you think you've run out of things to write, go a little bit deeper. Ask that young child what she would want you to have. You can write down Candy House if you want. You just probably won't choose it as we go forward.
Mm-hmm. And again, if you pause and you feel your heart space, feel gravity working, there's a certain pressure, a certain awkwardness that some people feel, especially as you pause and some of the easier things. If there's something that you're maybe a little afraid to put on there, maybe especially something that you've wanted for a long time. Maybe you feel a bit constipated or hopeless about it. It's okay, we're here. And there are a number of people that are saying that they're having a hard time with this question. Think of an emotion that you want to experience more of, or feeling. Like connection is one for me. And then what might show up in your life that in these areas that would give you more connection or ease. And someone asked, what would give me more connection? Like time in community where we get a chance to share what's alive for us and have that space held is something that is an example. It could be just a potluck where each person gets a chance around the table to speak for 5 minutes uninterrupted as people are there. It's an example of a connection. It could be having a friend that you've cultivated some time with where you connect. You may be meditating back to back with someone that you really feel a heart connection with. I think connection can be personal, professional, and spiritual.
Yeah, absolutely.
Emotions can cut across all of these, and some of the boundaries between these are fuzzy. Great. We
It's
like
okay,
them.
just put them down. But like under career, I want more programs that are really touching people's lives. But it's for me, that's also spiritual. So
Yeah.
it's all, like, what do you want? It doesn't matter what column so much.
Let's go for another minute. Okay. We might share some more examples, but there's a chat box. If other people have some examples, please feel free to share them. In the chat box, you can say whether you're sending to to me as the host or everyone. So there's been a request for some examples, and we'd love to see some of those if you feel like that wouldn't interfere with your process to share. It'd be great. Shall we go to the next slide, Kathy?
Yes. All right. Everybody take a nice deep breath. Realize that everything you're doing is just for right now. This process will get things going, and you may think of things later. So you're not locking this in stone. You're not like, for the next 3 years, this is all I'm going to do. It's like, no, I'm getting the flow going. So you can add to this list. I really encourage you to write it down. It makes it more concrete. It makes it more real for your subconscious as a goal. So you're going to look over that list, and in each section, personal, professional, and spiritual. And again, we said the columns were a little arbitrary, so you can, if you need to, circle 2 in one of them, and just not one in another. You're going to choose one goal, your most important goal out of those things, in each column and circle it.
Mm.
So you're going to have a total of 3 things. All right, and if you're not sure, just pick something now. And again, all we're doing is taking you through the exercise and opening the channels for this for you so that you have this flow and you have some focus on things that matter to you.
Yeah. Did you put that annotation on?
No, I don't believe so. I thought you did it.
No, I didn't. Not intentionally.
I'm not sure how to get rid of it.
Me neither.
Where's the...
It could be that one of our team members did that.
One of our brilliant cohorts.
Okay. Is it gone now?
Yes.
Okay. Who knows what happened?
It's all okay.
I like we're flexible. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've chosen a top one and in each of the categories. And now
So
we're going to be touching on, go ahead, Kathy.
Oh, I thought you paused to redo it. Go ahead. It's fine.
No, why don't you step us through the next exercise?
All right. So when you look at those 3 things that you chose, the 3 things that matter most to you, what blocks do you have right now that need to be eliminated in order for you to have those 3 goals? Realize that some of these blocks may be the same or they could be different. It's okay. Just start writing. Let yourself just freeform. Again, if you can't think of anything, just say, I don't know what to write. But what do you think you would need to fix in order to achieve those?
And a block can be a thought that you have about it, like, oh, that'll never happen, or yeah, I'm not good enough. That is, I don't deserve it. And if you do say something like that, that's what's alive for you as a block. Add an answer to because. So that'll never happen because.
come up with something good?
I'm noticing a lot of the blocks have too much in them.
Oh,
Signing on for too much effort, too hard.
well, maybe that would be a great call to do so we can work through too much.
Just too much. I'm going to start. For those of you that are familiar with tapping, I'm already tapping my collarbone point. It can be helpful for us if you get stuck. My blocks have blocks.
Well, even just knowing that is really powerful. There's great ways, once we're aware of things, we can move through them.
Mm-hmm. All right. Shall we continue?
Yes. All right. You'll notice a pattern as we continue going forward.
Mm-hmm. So as you look over those blocks, which are the top three? If you get past these, you'd be able to move forward? There's a sense of like, okay, that's my block, that's my constipation, that's my go-to kind of resistance. So like one of the things that I put down was I don't wanna. It's kind of a feeling, and the because it's too much. It could be too much effort. So circling the top three. You can change your mind later. This is an exercise for the now. Like, where are you now, this hour, this day? And our shared intention is that what is we're asking to reveal to ourselves is coming forward in this context of shared intention. Okay. Do you want to give more time, or is that good?
I think that's pretty good because it just, again, you don't have to, this is not locked in stone. Let your intuition guide you. Um, I find a lot of mine are attached together.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of my favorite parts because we've very few New Year's or goal settings or anything like this do this. And I think it's really powerful. So you're gonna take a new piece of paper or a new spot in your paper, and you're gonna write down what opportunities and assets that will help you move forward to accomplish these goals. These are things outside yourself. So we'll have another opportunity in a few minutes to do something that's inside ourselves. But write down now what I have this book that I've been wanting to read. I have this. I'm in this circle with Rick, and it's amazing, very supportive. I have a friend I can ask for help with this, whatever, a course that I took or whatever.
Include resources. If you have resources, people resources, time resources, money resources, technology that you're comfortable with or are interested in that could facilitate this. You don't necessarily they're opportunities, not things that you necessarily already have, but that you're aware that you have. Like Kathy said, a book that you want to read or someone you might want to engage with. Okay. Should we continue?
Yeah, and realize you can come back and add to this later. I think this is a really great way. It's a form of gratitude journaling, but it's thinking of things as opportunities. And once we're aware of them, sometimes we hadn't thought of that. Like, oh wow, my mother-in-law's been offering for me to take this class for years, and that actually might help me here. I've been resistant because I've been afraid of whatever, or just things can come up that when you start doing this a little bit. So now you're going to do just like you did before. You're going to choose the top 3 opportunities and assets that are external to you, and you're going to circle the top 3 that can make a big difference. And again, you can change your mind later. It's fine. But just circle the top 3.
Okay.
And realize, as someone wrote, we have tons of opportunities, but no time to pursue, too many responsibilities to handle. Part of this is really tuning into what's really important to you. So when we try to do it all, we don't do any of it. In fact, I have a friend who just was telling me how life is really hard right now, and she's trying to save everybody. So she has moved in her son, her ex-husband, some neighbors that need help. They're all in her home right now, and some other people want to move in too. She's trying to save them all, and she's been in the hospital twice the last couple months because she's completely stressed. So we can't do, time is one of the things that are limited. And when we really focus in and do something that matters to us, it's actually surprising how many things fall in place. But when we're trying to do everything, it's actually a form of procrastination. It's a way to not do anything. So if you're saying I have tons of opportunity but too many responsibilities to handle, I really encourage you to look at the boundaries that you have and the choices you're making, because there could be that you're trying to do too much as a way of not doing anything.
All right. So here in this exercise, what assets, strengths do you have personally, inner strengths, that you want to maximize? May not be your word. Like maximize feels like to the perfectionist in me, oh, I've got to maximize it. If you imagine just turning up the volume a notch or two, like, oh, I can't hear very well. Oh, I'm not really moving forward these things that are dear to my heart. And the volume's way down on this. And if I just moved it up a couple of notches, what things inside of you could you turn up the volume on a little bit more? Boost the energy around. That would help you complete these 3 goals. These are personal strengths. If you need to, go back and look at your top 3 that you circled. If someone is stuck here, Kathy, what would you recommend? Because I know a lot of people have a difficult time acknowledging their own strengths.
To when people have complimented you on things, like People say I'm really determined. If I really think something is important, they'll sometimes they don't always say it in a nice way. They're like, "You're really persistent," or "You're a pain in the butt." But
I'm a pain in the butt. I'm going to put that down as a personal
well,
trait.
it's actually that's an asset. Like I'm going to if something's
An
really important,
asset?
yeah,
Pain in the butt?
yeah. So yeah, just think about what you have. Like, how do you? If you had a hard problem, what would you bring it to bear? Like, I'm really smart. I'll research it first, and then I'm gonna. If it's, I decide it's really important, I'll continue. Rick is so gentle, but he's also so smart, and he's willing to listen to ideas, but he's also willing make he makes really good decisions. So there's like filter down to what you bring to bear when you're like if a friend comes to you with a problem, is like how would you solve it for them, and notice what you're bringing in. Oh, I'm very creative. I think outside the box. I would ask a lot of people for help. That's actually an asset. But there are a lot of people that are completely unwilling to ask for help. So the fact that you're willing to say, hey, I don't know how to do this. Can people help me? That's an asset. I'm willing to admit I don't know what I'm doing. Vulnerability, that's an asset, a huge asset. Brene Brown's has a whole career based on it.
Thank you for bringing that up. And if you have a history of enduring stuff and keeping going, there's courage you can put on there too.
Courage was my top one.
Playfulness is my top one.
Oh, I like it.
And it's time to turn the volume up for some of these things. Okay. And so again, grounding yourself, let's all take a deep breath. This is a big deal. Anyone who thinks that touching on your dreams and the things that matter to you and your blocks and your assets, because sometimes that can bring up that you don't feel like you have very many or personal strengths. This practice can create some vibration, some emotion. So just take a moment and take another deep breath. If you like tapping your collarbone, and kind of start where your vibration is. Here's a little trick I use. Like my vibration is like, bo, 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 and then I'll slow it down a bit and then deepen it. And choose your top 3 strengths. Top 3 meaning as you look at your goals, those 3 that you selected, which are going to come into place here? And if there's one that you have that you want to circle, but you feel some vibration to it, just take a moment and look at the word. If you imagine 3 years from now, you've really cultivated that quality. It's become deeper in you. It's already there, but it's deeper and stronger. It's been exercised to the point where you're really feeling yourself in it, whatever that means to you. And if you want to take a moment, I think that strengths, personal strengths, and the fact that you're here, like your show upness for yourself, that's certainly, if it's not on your list, I'm going to take my pen and just jot it down because you are right now. If you want to share some of your strengths in the chat window, the ones that you've circled. And again, if this would interfere with your process, then stay with yourself. And for me, as I look at my choices, playfulness, turning up the volume on that, reliability and courage, humor, trust, taking time for yourself. Thank you, guys.
Sensitivity is a good thing sometimes. Any of
Yeah.
these can be a really good thing or something that can get in the way. So humor is beautiful. I love people that are humorous. And I also have friends that use humor to deflect and keep people from getting too close. So just like anything, it can be a gun can be used to protect someone or, get food, and it can also be used to harm people. So all of these, like patience is an amazing thing, but are you being too patient and waiting for the right things to happen?
Mm-hmm.
So all of these are really great strengths, and we have to, make sure we're balancing them.
And that's a good point. My metaphor of the volume, sometimes turning down one and finding that what's that sweeter balance range can be a part of this process too. Great. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, those are beautiful.
In service, authenticity, perseverance, courage. Okay, so this is something new that uh, we used to just stick with the 3 top goals, and I I'm feeling that for a lot of my circle and very much from my heart that everything I wrote down is important to me. The 3 things I circled are dear to me. And is there one thing? And the answer may not be yes, but if there's one thing, if you moved that forward, would help you feel so much relief, even feel amazing, especially if it's something that you keep saying, oh, I'll do this daily, I'll do this tomorrow, and it's started to build up a sense of, oh, shit, you know, I didn't do it again. I didn't do it again. I didn't do it again. And it's dear to you. You circled it. It's something that is dear to your heart. Is there one thing that you would put at the top of your list? And if you're finding yourself avoiding it, like you're looking around, like I know which one it is, and but I'm like wanting to not focus in on it, you can start tapping a little bit. And you can also allow yourself to feel uncomfortable. One of the things we do in emotional freedom work is we spend some time feeling the feelings, the or the noise, the primal frustration. Okay. Anything you want to add there, Kathy?
No, I think that I like that. And just tuning into the one thing can be really powerful. And I'm like, but I have 3 things.
Well, last time we did this, there were 9 things.
I know.
So just to let everyone know, I need this focusing in on something that's important that'll get my energy going
Yeah.
in a way that we went from, the whole list. I said, okay, I'm going to pick 3 things and then I'm going to pick one. That's just.
I think it's really important to figure out for yourself what you need, because often if we 9 things is a lot, like people don't move 9 things forward. They just don't. 3 things, some people do like to do them, and some people find that still overwhelming. One thing, most people, if they're really focused in and clear, will move that thing forward. And sometimes when, I don't know about you, but if I've cleaned my house, all of a sudden I have energy to do other things. Like whatever the thing was that was kind of bottlenecking, if I get that one moving, everything seems to flow. So
Right. So if your thing is decluttering, then that becomes something that you're tracking and putting some emotional energy. You're applying your strengths, you're applying your assets and opportunities around one thing, and you're doing the sacred duty of to yourself of saying, yeah, this is important to me. I've identified it as important, and I'm choosing to sit with the discomfort, the blocks around this one thing.
yeah, if someone's asking for clarity and if this is one strength or one action item.
This is the first list that we had of the personal, professional, and spiritual. What's the one thing there that you would really like, need, want, desire, would make a difference in your life if you move this forward? So just take another moment. I feel like to give you a sense, I'm a professional coach and I'm a successful professional coach. I've, I know that because I've continued to be able to do this full time for 11 years since I went full time doing it. And I know that that's great. But around scheduling, getting into a rhythm that's reliable for myself and those people that are connected to me, there is a dynamic that it plays to my past. It plays to a period of time when I was very sick. It plays to my innate laziness. It plays for my desire to be free, free and not scheduled. And yet, it's really dear to me to have this. So if I imagine 3 years from now and I feel that it's like, okay, and I'm going to need to call on the strengths of reliability and courage and some others in order to shift this for me. And so it is dear to me because my heart wants to be of service. I want people to feel the innate reliability and solidness I have. And this is one area where I know it feels squishy. And there's resistance and there's lack of ease. And so that's what makes this important. The other things are too, like I really want to be playful in my guitar time. And I know that there's perfectionism and other things that are there. And I've got a great teacher and other stuff. But as I really feel into my heart, as much as I would like to make that my focus, this is much more core. It plays to the flow and rhythm of my entire life, because we're connecting. Like this time, if you're here live, we're connecting according to a schedule that Kathy and I agreed upon, and we invited you to be here. If you're not here live, well, thank you for showing up at the time that works for you, that you fit us into your schedule. That's a big deal. A lot of people won't. And so this relationship with our schedule is alive for me. There was a time where my relationship with my body, what I took in emotionally and
Yeah.
physically, what I expressed or didn't express, that was really core. And I did this process on that without having a workshop on it because my body demanded it. It was either going to get that attention or it was going to stop working. Sometimes our one thing is really obvious. And other times, the body is not, you've been putting a lot of attention on your body, even though it may have lots of needs, you've been putting plenty of attention. And now maybe it's playfulness or connection or expressing your artistry in some way.
Yeah, I want to make sure we get through the rest of this because I didn't have people give a little time to share too. So I love what you're sharing. Um, Do you want to talk about the body of snow? I mean, you kind of hit on it, but
We touched on it, feeling into your body, feeling into what would be your yes. And this may come later. It may come tomorrow morning.
yeah. So this part was really profound for me. A lot of us write down all these goals, and then um, I read this and I was like, oh my God. It said, for a wish or a hope to be a goal, it has to be achievable, measurable, and it has to have a deadline. So a lot of us are like, I wish this would happen. I want this to happen. Or we go the other extreme of writing down. I used to do this all the time as a kid. I would write down, I will lose this much weight by this day and this much weight by this, like very rigid goals. Like by tomorrow, I will be this. And so we're going to guide you through a process. So we encourage you to pick, you can pick your one thing or your three things, depending on how you want to do it. Um, and we're going to have you define things as we go forward. Can you flip to the next slide?
Mm-hmm.
Achievable, very important. I will be a millionaire by tomorrow, unless you win the lottery, not very likely. If you're over 20 and you want to become a prima ballerina and you're not already a prima ballerina, it's unlikely. Winning the Nobel Prize by the end of this year is not very likely unless you've already got a lot of things in the works. So one thing we're going to try to do is have it be achievable. I know that we talk all the time about we can make a lot of things happen. We are very, very powerful. But one way to procrastinate is to make the dream or what you want to achieve so big, there's no way to do it. And then we're just going to go, yep, never mind, I can't do it. So pick something that as we go forward with this, and we're going to go through a couple of criteria and then have you do some writing that is actually achievable in the time frame we're going to give you. So we're going to give you 90 days to start, but you can have multiple ones. You also want to make it measurable. So if you can't measure it, if you can't see it with a video camera or actually see something you did, it's really hard to actually say if we did it or not. So for Rick, I practiced guitar for 15 minutes for 5 days last week, something a video camera could see. I sat down with my boss and I talked about that in new assignment and got 3 action steps with them. I actually went on that vacation. I took that class. I went for a walk. Things that you can do. You want to have them things you can actually measure. And this is really important because it's very inspiring to see where we actually move forward. All right. And then we want to have a deadline for it. Okay. So if you don't have a deadline for achieving those things, it's really easy to put it off and put it off. And one of the reasons I've tuned back into that little girl that was me when I was little is I've had dreams that I've wanted to achieve since I was 4 or 5. And I either need to figure out how I can actually make them happen in a reasonable amount of time or decide they're not that important to me. So we're going to have you do some writing. So either for the one thing, if that feels better for you, or the top 3 things, the top thing from each category, you're going to write down where would you like to be in the next 90 days. If you're going to get, we had said in 3 years, you're going to sit down with Rick and I, and you're going to go over these things and share what you've gotten done. In the next 90 days, what could you do to move forward towards that? You're not going to accomplish all of everything in those 3 months that you want to have done in the 3 years. You want to be realistic and achievable, and you want to make, and still be willing to stretch yourself a little bit. It's not like, oh, I will get the mail every day. It's like, well, I already do that. That's not very exciting. Maybe I'll organize it better or whatever. So be willing to kind of stretch a little bit, be realistic, and make them measurable. So go ahead and start writing. Right? Deadlines, yuck. Sometimes they can be a yuck, but it's also, it gives us a way to measure. Someone had commented the deadlines are a yuck. They give us a way to measure what we're actually doing. So if my goal was to practice guitar 5 times a week, and I realized that in 90 days, as I've done the first month and I look and I've only practiced once, I either have to get some support or I have to do something different. If I don't have a deadline, it's always like, I'll do it tomorrow. I am the queen of I will do it tomorrow. You know what? Tomorrow never comes. It's always today. So,
and pointing out, like, deadlines make me, I have experience with deadlines where it was pressure and there was a trapped feeling and they were external. Maybe deadlines isn't your word, but there's a frame of reference which is tracking progress and tracking where am I now? And most people bounce off of this. I think tapping, this is the type of thing that if someone showed up in our circle and said, hey, I'm feeling this overwhelmed by the thought of X, Y, or Z, it's not actually the deadline, okay? Because if it was something you didn't have those blocks about, the deadline would either be realistic or unrealistic. Make it super realistic. Maybe decluttering by 50%. If you have a real I can't do it, then have as an intention to clear off this one table and then deal with the emotional stuff that we're going to talk about in a minute. But that's the pacing, that there are baby steps. If you're not taking any baby steps toward this one thing, that's my point, is if I'm not even taking baby steps on some kind of measurable timeline basis, I'm actually not doing it. There's no excuse for not spending 5 minutes or 7 minutes on the thing that's important to you. There just isn't. Maybe on a daily basis, but if you go a whole week and you didn't even spend 7 minutes with a piece of paper around it, then there's something else blocking. And we really honor that. You're welcome to give it another name. This is coming from a more traditional background. I don't typically use deadlines. My target date, my milestone, my celebration day. These are things. Kathy?
Yeah, whether it's a check-in day or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So we want you to tune into the stuff you've just written down. So when you think about your goals for the next 90 days, and it really is powerful to do 90 days versus the 3 years.
Yes.
Notice where you feel resistance. And jot that down. I'm feeling a lot of my collarbones feel so achy when I think about doing this. Or where do you have the most to learn? Are there fears and blocks holding you back? What's coming up around this? Even if we don't call it courage, it takes courage to change the way we do things and to start doing the things we avoided. You can take that quiet courage. So how can you give yourself more courage? Can you put pictures up of the things you really want to achieve? Will that help you remember? Can you ask a friend? Can you make sure you get enough sleep and food to eat? And notice as we go through this, what reduces your courage the most too? I know if I'm very tired or lonely, if I feel overwhelmed, I feel it's easier to give up, like, oh, no, I can't do this. If I break it into small things, it's easier to move forward. So one of the things we'd love to do is hear from you. We'd love for you to email your thoughts. So take the time if you're willing. I'm inviting you to really take the time to notice what gives yourself courage and what takes it away, and where your blocks are around achieving these goals. We'd rather not have you come back next year, if we do this again next year, and have you have the same things in place that you'd like to move forward for that you haven't done anything on. That would feel sad because you're amazing people. So we may have some of the same things, but if we have all the same things, that's really stagnant. So we would love to hear from you. If you want to email support@thrivingnow.com, tell us what gives you courage, what reduces your courage, and where your biggest challenges are. And we'd love to hear. We're working on potentially another program that would be about the courage to walk through things like this. How can we foster courage, and how can we tune in? And so we want to know how you guys feel about that, and what interests you before we put a lot of energy into it.
And feel free to share the one thing if you'd like. It was an act of vulnerability for me to talk about something like that. Maybe it doesn't seem like a big deal if scheduling is not your thing. For those of you that scheduling is one of your things, and someone said, difficulty being accountable. I can't be accountable to myself, but I can be kind, compassionate, and reliable. I can activate that sense of like, yeah, I want to do this because I want other people to feel connected to me and reliability. So if you choose to share, support@thrivingnow.com only comes to Kathy and I. At this time, we don't have a virtual assistant or anyone else that reads that. While we may not be able to give everyone a reply, I know for me, when I've been invited by someone sincerely to share what's true for me, that it's helped me to put it down on bits, on the screen, and just click send. That there's something inside me that I know that it will be witnessed. We promise to read everyone. Mm-hmm. And that starts, it's not accountability, but it's a connection. I can't do these things without connection, but I can do it. Accountability is not going to do it for me, but connection to my heart and what matters, connection to the circle that I want to be a part of and serve.
You might find that we do some tapping scripts just on what you wrote. Like, we won't put anything personal, but if you're saying I'm really having trouble around this courage issue, you might find an email or a video or something else that's helping you with your specific thing. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of power in that too.
Thank you.
So, do you want to flip to the last slide? So I think it really is important to realize the people that achieve their goals the most are the ones that have community support and mentorship. There's a bunch of different studies out there that will show that. It doesn't have to look a certain particular way, but we do want to give you some options for how you could create an amazing 2019. One of those years you look back and you're like, thank God I got to live that. Thank God I got to experience that and create that in the world. I love the thrivingnow.com circle. That made a huge difference with me. I think I joined it 12 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
I got off my first session call with Rick and I was like, what else can I do? This is amazing. And I signed up for it was called The Team at that point, and it was so powerful. I learned so much. And Rick is one of the most powerful coaches I know. So I really encourage, if you have the resources, just even do one session on some of the things that are blocking you and punch through some of the stuff that's just kind of stagnated on the top. Just like on a pond, you get this layer of debris that filters down and just gets stagnant. Just getting a little movement there and moving through some of that can really help. And we would really love to hear your thoughts on courage, and whatever your one thing is or three things are, support@thrivingnow.com. We'd love to hear where you're stuck and where you want to move forward.
Thank you all so much for being here, and we look forward to hearing from you. If you like this kind of engagement, let us know that too. If there are things that come to your mind that would make it more comfortable, more engaging. In our circle calls that we do, we have time and space for people to come forward. We do tapping, and we get a chance to build connections and community that way too. So,
yeah, right. You guys rock. So glad you're here. It's exciting.
Bye. Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks, everyone.